Hey, I'm Sam Clark with Crimson Education, and today in another episode of Ask Sam Anything, I'm going to talk about my favorite Common App essay topics from a few more schools. Now, previous video, I talked about the favorite Common App essay topics that I've heard from Harvard, from Princeton, and Cornell in the course of filming our Big Question series, where I asked hundreds of students at over 50 universities what they wrote about for their Common App essays. Today, I'm going to look at a trio of California schools. So we're going to look at Stanford, UC Berkeley, and UCLA. Let's do it. First, UC Berkeley. When we filmed at UC Berkeley, it was actually a really exciting day because we were filming on freshman move-in day. So we were just moving up and down the lines of students who were registering on their very first day. So they didn't have the excuse that a lot of students we've interviewed had of saying, I don't remember what I wrote about. So a lot of them told us some really, really interesting stuff. One of the ones that I really liked was a student who was intending to major in computer science, and he talked about learning to code, and not only talking about learning to code and why he loves computer science, but how when he was learning to code, that changed his perspective and how he viewed learning in every single area of life, be it school, extracurriculars, family life, etc. Another student at UC Berkeley talks to me about the fact that she wrote for her application essays about doing a cappella in high school because she didn't know what else to do. And she didn't really like singing, and she wasn't particularly good at it. So it wasn't really an essay about an accomplishment, it was almost the opposite. She decided to do a cappella because she didn't really feel like she had a calling, she didn't really feel like she had a passion. But she did a cappella, and she didn't find that she liked singing anymore. She didn't find that she got any better at singing, but she did find a community there. And I think that's something very cool that you can consider writing about, is you don't have to write about something that you're good at. You don't have to write about something you're accomplished at. You've got other parts of your application to do that. She talked about a way that she found a community, which is through singing not very well with no instruments. Next was UCLA. We've done big questions at UCLA twice and have gotten a big range of answers. From very, very involved to something very vague. There was a girl I asked, what did you write your application essay about? And she just said horses, and she wouldn't elaborate on that anymore. So that was one, horses, you can write about horses. Another one, a student talked about fixing go-karts with his dad, right? I think that's a cool example of, he could have talked about any number of engineering feats that he had done throughout high school or during summers, but instead he talked about something a little more simple, fixing go-karts with his dad. It was more about his relationship with his dad than it was about engineering per se, but it was a cool sort of story through which he could talk about a lot more. Another student we interviewed talked about how in her application essay, she wrote about her experience volunteering in hospitals, but not just her experience volunteering in hospitals as a way of sort of saying, hey, look at what I've done with my summers, but also she talked about the importance of joke telling in a hospital setting, in a medicine setting, which I think says a lot more about her personality. And about sort of the value that she thinks humor can bring to a setting that might not actually be that humorous to many people. I will say now, before I get attacked in the comments about UCLA and UC Berkeley, that the UC system, the University of California system, does have a different application from the Common App. So a lot of these students corrected me on that when I asked them about it, and I'm sure you'll do that in the comments as well. But a lot of students were able to adapt a Common App personal statement to what they wrote about for the UC systems or for other schools who didn't necessarily use the Common App. So keep that in mind. Last one I'm going to talk about today is Stanford. We've done big questions twice at Stanford. One of the times we did it during summer school. So we were talking to a bunch of high school students who were talking about what they were going to write about. So I'm instead going to talk about the second time that we went to Stanford, which is just during the school year, talking to students about what they wrote about. I thought one student was very funny and I think had a really impactful essay. He just said that he wrote his Common App essay about his height. He was very tall. I think he gets questions a lot about, hey, you're tall, do you play basketball? And that was essentially the basis of his essay. Another student said that he wrote his application essay about his personal connection to Judaism, and he talked about the fact that he's Jewish, but he never really felt connected to his religion until he went to Berlin for a Jewish athletes conference, and that was the first time when he really felt a connection to the larger sort of culture and community of global Judaism. I thought that was very cool, and he said that it was a way of him talking about his faith, talking about his culture, talking about his connection to athletics in a way that wasn't necessarily super on the nose, and also really took you on a journey. The last topic that I really liked at Stanford was a student who talked about her experience being a theater kid at a science and tech high school. So quite a contrast there. And we actually ended up filming a day in the life with that student. You can check out A Day in the Life Stanford with Malika, who continued to do theater at Stanford, but also majored in psychology at the best psychology department in the world at Stanford. So that's just 3 more schools answering the question of what my favorite Common App essay topics are. I'm gonna do a bunch more of these videos, but you can probably tell already there's such a wide diversity of Common App essay topics. There's no perfect formula for it. There's no answer what you should write your Common App essay topic about, but I hope you can find a lot of value in watching a lot of these and in watching the Big Questions series, where you can hear directly from these students what they wrote about. And if you want someone to talk to directly about what you should maybe write about for your Common App essay topics, for your UC essay topics, for anything else related to college applications, click the link below to connect up with an academic expert at Crimson Education who can help you do exactly that. I'm Sam Clark with Crimson Education, and I'll catch you on the next one.